I am going to begin reading the Makioka sisters today by Junichiro Tanizaki, I think is his name. Yes, Junichiro Tanizaki. This is a thick one. This is probably of all the Japanese literature I have, probably the second biggest. Because I think bigger than this, the only one is probably Wind Up Bird Chronicle. Maybe 1Q 84, is that the name of it? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name of that Murakami novel. I don't think that's longer than this, but I could be wrong. This is the Penguin Vintage Japanese edition, which is just really lovely. I adore it. I've not read anything in these editions yet. Look at how pretty that is. But I am making this the first one I'm reading in that edition. The pages, like the size of the font is pretty nice. I'm kind of digging it. I think it's just the way it opens. I'm not sure how I'll feel, so we're just gonna see. I'm really excited to get to this one. I'm really excited to read this one because it was compared to Jane Austen, and anything compared to Jane Austen is always going to be like an immediate draw for me. This was, I think they said it was like the closest to Jane Austen that a Japanese literature gets. I don't know where, I thought it was on the book, but maybe not because now I'm not seeing it. But let me read you the quick description, and then I am actually going to head to work where I will probably do the first of my reading, and this is a chunker, so I fully expect it to take me like a week and a half to read this one. But the description. In the years leading up to the Second World War, 4 sisters live in dilapidated houses in Osaka, Anishiya, and each navigate their own complex personal relationship with the fading luster of the Makioka family name. Rich with breathtaking descriptions of ancient customs in an ever-changing natural world, Junichiro Tanizaki evokes in loving detail a long-lost way of life, even as it withers under the harsh glare of modernity. And I'm already digging it. I read the first like paragraph and was like, yeah, this is absolutely something I'm interested in. It begins with a list of the principal characters. So the 4 Makioka sisters are Suruku, Sashiko, Yukiko, and Taiko, and I am very excited to dive into this. I hope it's good. I hope it's really good. Since this is a vlog, other things I'm hoping to do while reading this, I'm working on planning a possible trip. I'm not sure when it would take place. It would probably be mid to late July to late August, like not spanning that length, but around that time to mid-August, so sometimes between there, basically between 4th of July and the end of August, because I have to use my vacation time by the end of August, and I kind of just want to take a trip, and I really want to go see some lighthouses, so I'm thinking about going to the UP, but I don't know. It's just kind of up in the air at the moment. I am looking at my options, but I'm hoping to do some planning of that this coming week and a half. I am also, I don't know, I was hoping to do a lot more work on other videos, but tomorrow was my only day off where I could like do any filming, and our garage door is broken, so I have to be home for that tomorrow, and I'm assuming it's going to make a lot of noise to be fixed, so filming is probably not a great idea, so I'm not going to be doing that, but I'll definitely be working on prepping videos as much as I can. Going places, I don't think I'm going anywhere. I don't think there's anything going on in that regard. Not that I can recall. So probably going to be a very stay at home. I'll try to do some reading outside, but the weather, it has been very gloomy spring weather, so not a lot of opportunity for outside reading. And when it's not gloomy spring, it is ridiculously hot and humid, and that makes me miserable. So I don't know, we were kind of like in the worst part of the year weather-wise for me. I have talked about wanting to spend more time outside and read more outside this year, and that is a goal, but when it is just miserable out, it's so hard to convince myself to go out and do any reading. So hopefully we'll get, I don't know, some days of relief where I can enjoy the weather. And I'm realizing now I sound a little sick. I don't think I'm sick. I think it's just I've got sort of sore throat-ish. Not even, like it doesn't hurt. It just feels and sounds like it's like tired or something. I've just been using it a lot. I've been doing a lot of practicing on the ukulele. So I've been using it a lot in that. I have been talking a lot at work because we've got a lot going on. So I'm wearing my voice out. I don't normally do a lot of talking. All right, enough about me. let us get into this beautiful book. Hello, I'm tired. I've been up since 6-ish because we have someone working on our garage door, which broke a couple weeks ago, and we're getting the replacement in. And it's now like 1 o'clock, and it's like, he got here at 7, and I'm sure it's going like at the speed, but I don't know, mentally I was like not prepared for it to take this long. And I've kind of just like hung out down here in case he needs anything. I can hear him knocking, and I'm really tired. I have a terrible headache. I just ate though, and that kind of helped. I'm not super far in the Makioka sisters. I don't know if I like it. I'm not even 50 pages in, but it's been really slow going, and I'm not loving the writing, and I don't know enough about the characters yet to really attach myself to them. So we'll see. I mean, we're still very early. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about the Makioka sisters is it's been compared to Jane Austen, and I'm not gonna like disregard that yet, but it's actually reminding me a lot of Anna Karenina. I think just the way it's written and the way it like is framed, the short chapters and the longer sections. The themes are different, at least so far, and I don't think they're going to take Anna Karenina themes, but it's just reminding me quite a bit of that book, which is very surprising. I think also because of the way characters are sort of plucked around the story. Tolstoy is really good at sort of jumping from one character to the other and making it feel very natural when you're shifting sort of, not perspective, but like who is most important in the scene. And Tanizaki is doing something very similar with this book and these characters. You'll jump from like one sister to another, and yeah, it's just very Tolstoyan. So that was a nice surprise, I think. I didn't love Anna Karenina, but it's always a nice surprise to sort of have something recalling a book that left an impact on you. But yeah, I'm tired. I look really tired too. So it's actually really interesting that I was just talking about how this book was reminding me of Anna Karenina, and there's literally a reference to Anna Karenina in the book. I was like, wait, hold on. Maybe this book is directly interacting with Anna. So they're visiting the house of a Russian family who has immigrated to Japan, and this takes place kind of in the lead up to World War II and the years leading up to it. So I don't know. I don't know that much, I guess, about Japan during that time period. So it's just interesting that there are Russians there, and I think they make a comment about there being a lot of Russians in Japan at this time, which it is the Soviet Union, but these people call themselves Russians. They're there, and another Russian is invited, and his name is Vronsky, which I was like, oh my god, Vronsky. And then they say Vronsky mused Tanisuke. There's someone by that name in Anna Karenina. You're very well informed. You read Tolstoy, do you? All Japanese read Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, said Krylenko. I don't know, it's just like, whoa, interesting. Just, I was very just wowed. And this book continues to remind me of Anna Karenina in the way that the characters interact with each other, and the fact that their motivations are very much, for a lot of characters, written on the sleeves for the characters and for the reader, but not for like the characters outside of their head. And just the writing continues to be very much like Anna. And we've got some train imagery. Is this gonna go down a similar path? I don't know. I'm really curious though. I am really enjoying it now. I think last time we talked, I said I wasn't sure if I was liking it or not. I am liking it. There was a scene where they go to see the cherry blossoms, and it was one of the most beautiful scenes I have read all year, just across the board. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was stunning, and it just encompassed everything I love about this book so far. However, anytime they really deal with the finding a husband plot for Yukiko, it's not always interesting because they do a lot of the same things. They're always investigating, And it's very frustrating, and I think it's supposed to be frustrating because it's frustrating for these characters, but it is frustrating as a reader to keep like doing it. And I was like, I thought we moved past this. So I don't know, I just hope it develops into something else, because I'm just getting kind of tired of how repetitive this like marriage plot is getting. Okay, so while I prep for another video I'm filming my James Patterson video, my review of James Patterson by James Patterson. As I'm prepping for that, I just wanted to update real quick on Makioka stuff. So I'm about halfway through the book, and I think it's safe to say I'm really enjoying it. I don't think it's going to get 5 stars for me just because I don't love it, and I'm like engrossed while I'm reading it, but it's sometimes a little hard to pick it up. Like, I'm just not super motivated all the time to pick it up outside of like general, I want to read something right now. I like the characters. I really like Sachiko and Taiko, and I really like Tainasuke. I think he's really, really an interesting character, and it's interesting in a lot of ways. And we're getting, you know, every month that passes in the book is a month closer to World War II, and I didn't realize how present that would be in this book, but it's very interesting to see this period in Japan, because I've never read an account set in Japan during this period, and they're not super hyper focused on the war, but it's like clearly a part of like concern, you know. All right, this is probably hopefully the final day with this book. I'm actually, so my goal this year, I haven't talked about in this video, but my goal this year has been to read one book every 10 days or so, and I'm coming up, this is like day 11 or 12. working on this book. It's a big book, so it makes sense, and I'm not like mad or penalizing myself in any way for having taken so long, but I am kind of like getting to the point where like mentally I'm like, okay, I need to be done with the book. I am enjoying it quite a bit. I have a little over 100 pages left. I think it's like 120. I'm really curious to see how this wraps up, because something felt like it was coming to a conclusion, and then that conclusion just fell apart. It broke, it died, and not literally, but it just like ended, and I ended up, I think it was actually the most emotional moment for me in just like engaging my emotions. It made me so freaking frustrated and upset with a certain character. But then it also made me stop and reevaluate and think, why am I upset with this character in other situations? Like if I were in her shoes, you know, would I like feel other people were justified at being upset, you know, or would I feel like betrayed that they were upset with me? And I ended up kind of like doing a 180 on that, and partly the book doing that work on the page and partly it being like very subtly done. So yes, I did really enjoy that scene, and I am enjoying this book quite a bit, but right now it's kind of sitting at like 3 stars for me. It's really gonna depend on how it ends, just because as interesting as the book is, it's not moving me too much. It's not doing too much for me. It is just kind of like tepid water at the moment. So we'll see how it ends. I'm definitely, whatever happens, grateful to have read this book, because it's certainly a really interesting time period that it takes place in. And someone actually coincidentally at work was like, hey, I've got this book that I'm reading soon, and it takes place at like the same time period, and I was like, in Japan, and I was like, ooh, I will have to read that soon, and compare and just learn more about, because it's the lead up to World War II in Japan, and at this point the World War has started in Europe, but it hasn't reached Japan. So it is interesting. It's really interesting on that front. And yeah, but anyways, hopefully this is the last day with it. That is what I'm hoping. I have a little bit of work to do. I want to basically just prep all the videos I'm going to be filming over the next couple weeks, basically for the rest of the month. I don't have a lot of opportunity to film in the next week and a half, which is really frustrating, but happens sometimes. So if I can get ahead with all the prep work, then when I sit down to film, it'll be a lot easier. And I will probably, because I don't have a lot of time to film, I will probably be moving this video up, but I'm not gonna like guarantee that. I might still be posting when I like kind of thought I would be done with the book. Writing is going pretty okay. I actually just finished planning a little writing retreat slash vacation trip with a friend. We're not going far. There's a town a couple hours away from Chicago, up near sort of the corner of Illinois. It's called Galena. It is just this adorable town that I absolutely love visiting, and we rented an Airbnb there for 5 nights, or 4 nights and 5 days, I guess. And maybe it was 5 nights. Doesn't matter. We're just going to like vibe, and I'm so excited. So that'll definitely be a vlog of its own. But that's not till like 2.5 months away, unfortunately. I think that's it for updates. Hopefully, like I said, I will be back talking to you when I'm done with the book. I really am ready to be closing the page on this one. It's over. It's done. I finished it. My full thoughts are gonna come tomorrow or the day after, but I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars in the end. Closer to like 3 3/4, but I don't do that officially. Just like in my head I'm like, yeah, I was closer to 3 3/4 than 3.5, but it's over. I'm done with the Makioka sisters. It was good. I would recommend it. All right. Final thoughts. So what are my final thoughts on the Makioka sisters by Junichiro Tanizaki. This is my first Tanizaki, and I will say I am interested to read more. I actually think so. I have Naomi by him, but I think I'm gonna pick up In Praise of Shadows, which is actually a nonfiction piece and is sort of him talking about the Japanese aesthetic, particularly during the time period when he's alive, obviously. and it sounds really interesting, and I really do want to pick up some Japanese nonfiction because I want to help like contextualize myself in some of these fiction books. But the writing was gorgeous and lovely, and there are so many scenes that made me go, oh my gosh, I want to experience that in my life. And then also on the flip side, there were several scenes that made me go, I never want to experience anything like that in my life, because it was just so transplanting, I guess. This is one of those books that makes you really feel like you're traveling, and I love that because I feel like I haven't read a book that so strongly was able to pull me out of like my physical location and put me somewhere else via text. It's been a while. Obviously books tend to like give me that like fantasy escapist element because I read a lot of fantasy, but this one really made me feel like I was somewhere else, and that part was really lovely. I also found myself growing very fond for the characters. The beginning of the book, I never would have guessed that because I found just like pieces annoying, but I did grow very fond of them all by the end of the book and felt like we were intimate friends by the end, which again, another feat. And I walked out of the book sad that I would be done with these people and their lives, because it's really a book that starts you in the middle of lives and ends you in the middle of lives. You don't get a clear beginning or end. It's just like, here are a couple years of their lives, and I will show you detail and minute detail, and you will get to know them very well, but you are just looking through windows. You do not get to see the whole thing. And obviously World War II is fast approaching Japan by the end of the book, so that's another reason that it probably had to end where it ended, but still it's just open enough that you feel like concluded all the plot of the story while also feeling like there is so much more to happen for these people. I only gave it 3.5 stars though, because emotionally, even though I was attached, I wasn't really pulled in emotionally all the time. It was easy for me to feel vacant and far away from the text. It was easy for me to put this book down. It was sometimes hard for me to pick it up. When I was getting closer and closer to the ending, I kept thinking, I'm so excited for it to be over, and it was more because I just wanted to move on from this text. In some points, it does feel a little bloated, and it is a huge book, so that is understandable that not everything is going to be tight, and it's not really a story that's made for tight storytelling, but still, by the end, if I'm feeling like, yay, I'm happy for it to be done, it doesn't justify a greater review than that for me. The writing, I think I said, reminded me a little bit of Anna Karenina. That kind of faded as I went through the text, but it does have a Tolstoy-esque feel to this book, and I have seen it compared to Austen. I would agree that in some ways it is sort of an answer to texts like Pride and Prejudice, or if not an answer, an ongoing conversation with texts like that. I would also say that another text that would be interesting to put into this conversation would be Little Women, which is also about 4 sisters and also has these overtones of the fluctuations of wealth tied with sacrifice and sickness. And this book and that book, I think, would have a really interesting conversation together. I was expecting, because it's about the sisters, to be really about all the sisters, but truthfully, we really pay attention to Sachiko, who is sort of the secondary household. She's the second sister, and she lives in Ashiya, whereas the main household is in Tokyo. And that sister Tsuruko, she does play a part in the text, but she isn't the main part of the text. And then with Sachiko, we get Yukiku and Taiko, who are 3 and 4 respectively. And we get a lot of them. During different parts of the book, we get more or less than them. And it's actually very interesting that it has more to do with the characters' location and their importance to the story in location. So if a character is off in Tokyo, we really don't see them. Anytime they're in Ashiya or the Kobe area, we see a lot of them. And the more important they are, the closer they are to the Ashiya house, which I thought was really interesting. There's in the book, and you go into this kind of knowing it because most descriptions say that, it really has a lot to do with the old Japanese customs and way of life meeting the modern new way of life. And I thought it would be a lot more contentious because maybe that's just how Westerners write about that sort of thing, but it actually, the more like positive area, the Shia house, kind of met modernity in a really harmonious way, whereas other parts like the Tokyo house just could not meet that. We also see that this sort of respect for the past with acknowledgement for the future is just, and not even acknowledgement, but excitement in a way, and acceptance of the future is granted a lot more positives. The people who find a balance between the two end up a lot better off than the characters who sway hard to one side or the other. There's also, I saw an article talking about this, and I don't know if I 100% agree, but I would have to read the whole article. I was just skimming it because I didn't want spoilers, but they were saying that there is a theme of, how did they say it? There is a theme of worsening health, of impoverity, of, I guess impoverity is not a word, of impoverishment, of things getting worse as the book progresses. In some ways I do agree, in other ways I don't know if I do. I would really have to, like I said, read the whole article, but I do think this idea of things get worse absolutely happens in this text. You start at a fairly good / middling point, but you end with some characters in really poor straits. You also, I mean, it's a story about a once wealthy family losing that wealth and losing that status, even though they like are trying to cling to it a little bit. And it is also the story of approaching war. So both of those things, I think, tie together to make it make sense that this is a book where things are getting more decrepit the further in you go. There's also, so the big thing, because this book has a lot of just like moments in it, but everything really ties back to getting Yukiko married. So she's the third sister. Taiko, who is the youngest sister, cannot get married until Yukiko is married. But Yukiko has just been very difficult, and it's actually very funny. There are multiple times where she's like, I would marry anyone you told me to marry except this guy. And it's like, Yukiko, please, you said that already. And you just have a hard time getting into Yukiko's head. You almost never spend any time in her head, which I waffled between finding her and this plot line frustrating and actually really enjoying it. And I ended up saying, yes, I enjoy it. It has frustrating moments, but it's frustrating on purpose. And I ended up really liking Yukiko as a character. I liked all the sisters, I'll be honest. By the end, I liked all the sisters for their different faults and merits. But I really liked Yukiko by the end, and I didn't think I was going to. But the book revolves around this plot, and everything is sort of done in a way that is either a response to getting Yukiko married or because Yukiko is not married. Like, it is both the cause and the effect of everything that happens in this book outside of these like moments that are just like life moments. Like I said, it was just frustrating sometimes, and obviously on purpose frustrating, but just frustrating sometimes. I think that's one of the reasons I would put the book down or have a hard time picking it up, because I was like, is this going to be a frustrating section? I don't know. But overall, like I said, 3.5 stars, which for me, really good actually. 3 stars for me is like, you did it. You're a good book. I would recommend you, with 4 stars being like, I loved you. Like 4.5 being like phenomenal, and 5 being like perfect. So 3.5, well done, well done. I will probably pick up In Praise of Shadows either later this year or early next year, because I really did love the writing and especially the like descriptions of nature and scenery. And I would love to see what he has to say about the aesthetic and just Japanese view, and like the view he has on Japanese culture. So looking forward to that. That is it for me. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, one of my goals this year is to read more Japanese literature, and this is gonna be a goal for several years, and hopefully I'll be taking you on vlogs and reviews with me as I read these texts. If you want to see another vlog on Japanese literature, definitely check out my Haruki Murakami vlog where I read 2 of his books back to back, which is very strange for me to read an author back to back, even if it were part of a series and these 2 weren't. I will definitely be picking up another Japanese text soon. It was kind of a bigger gap between Murakami and Tanizaki than I thought it would be, but summer has gotten me excited for reading again, so not that I'm never unexcited for reading, but still. A little teaser for what I am reading next, because this is not going to make it into any vlogs, but I just want to point it out. I'm going to be starting A Lady for a Duke, which is one of my actually most anticipated books of the year. And it was a late comer to my like knowledge that it was coming out, but I am super excited to get into it. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you liked this content and you want to see more like it, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me that you care about what I have to say. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are somewhere cold, I hope you're staying warm. If you're somewhere warm, I hope you're staying comfortable. And most of all, I hope you're reading a great book. I will see you guys next time. Bye.